So in honor of the opening of Avengers Endgame, the YouTuber Nando V Movies put out a challenge to do videos about people's favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe scenes. The series is called One Marvelous Scene. Several dozen real YouTubers have put out some awesome videos about their favorite scenes. And I'm nobody, but I felt compelled to tackle a scene myself. The scene that I felt needed some love was the very first superhero scene in any MCU movie, the moment that Tony Stark becomes Iron Man, in a suit he built in a cave with a box of scraps. From here in 2019, it's easy to forget that back in the mid-2000s, Marvel was not in a strong position. They'd gone through bankruptcy in the 90s and were fighting their way back from that. To stay afloat, they had sold off practically every character that Hollywood was interested in. Hulk, the X-Men, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, even minor leaguers like Ghost Rider and Daredevil. Some of those movies were doing well, and some were not. So Marvel was going to proceed with a bunch of C-listers at best. It's easy to forget that back then, only geeks knew about Captain America and Thor and Iron Man. Iron Man was phase 1 of phase 1. Marvel needed to nail this to set the foundation for everything that would come after. And, amazingly, they did. Iron Man was a hit. It's important to realize that Marvel was unique in one respect. They were their own movie studio. All the prior superhero movies had been sold to existing movie studios who had done their own work to translate the comics into a movie. They were movie makers who had their own idea of how things should be done, which didn't always work out. Only a very few movies had shown real respect for the source material. The 1978 Superman movie strove for verisimilitude, but wasn't ashamed of being a comic book movie. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies came very close, but still had some studio meddling. Venom, anyone? Before this scene, Iron Man had been an action movie with elements of drama, and character interaction had been paramount. They developed who Tony Stark was, who Yinsen was, who Pepper Potts was, who Rhodey was. And you could easily imagine this movie going forward in a different way at this point, where Tony Stark turns into a MacGyver-type person with traps and tools and tricks and improvising his technical way through problems. But they go a different way. This is the moment it actually becomes a superhero movie. This is the moment Marvel lays their cards on the table, the moment they show how they plan on translating their comics to film. I will argue that all the elements of a Marvel Cinematic Universe action scene are already present here, even in the very beginning. So let's take it down the line and I'll show you. First off, the suit. It honors the comics without being slavishly devoted to them. It looks both convincingly jury-rigged and yet credibly intimidating. They're taking inspiration from the comics but doing what's necessary for the movie, and that's their style all the way through. While not as pronounced as later battles, this battle also has flashes of the trademark MCU humor, terrorists panicking, you first, and even shooting themselves with ricochets. The fights are also used to reveal character. It's better to show than tell, and we see by the improvised weapons that Tony really is clever. And of course we have the ultimate character building scene, the ultimate moment that Tony Stark becomes Iron Man.
Thank you for saving me. Don't waste it. Don't waste your life.
And then he busts out the dual flamethrowers, which is, again, inspired by, but not a one-to-one copy of the comics. In any case, it is undeniably awesome. Especially in its later films, Marvel has gotten more literal about translating what shows up in the comic to the screen. Ang Lee's 2003 Hulk movie actually went much more literally, translating comic panels to frames. But the best you could say about that movie is that it was an interesting but failed experiment. Marvel has found a better way, used judiciously. Now this fight already had a couple of solid hero shots as he exits his room and then exits the cave, but here is where it sets up a real comic panel. I mean, this is straight out of a comic. I'll let the sound speak for itself. And the music is perfect for this. You've been listening to it all along. You cannot deny it. In the immediate wake of the Iron Man movie, Marvel actually announced the whole concept of phases. Phase 1 was going to include a Thor movie, and a Captain America movie, and even a friggin' Avengers movie. But this scene is what first made me believe that these guys might actually pull it off. Remember, just a few months after Iron Man came The Incredible Hulk, and that one was not as well received. In fact, it's considered one of the weakest of the MCU movies. What if both movies had been mediocre? Would Disney have wanted to invest in Marvel the following year? In a real sense, Iron Man's success made the MCU possible, and if things had gone differently, nobody would be talking about Endgame this weekend. And one of the key reasons for the success of Iron Man is the success of this scene. So I don't see how anyone could deny that this is one marvelous scene. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you like this one, you should check out the other One Marvelous scenes in the link in the description, because I guarantee you they're way better quality and deserve the likes way better than this one. Thanks.